Welcome back to Beneath the Long Man's Feet. Here I am in the woods again, of course, and I have a short story for you. It's called Not a Warrior. I hope you like it. Billy was a very small child. He was never going to be a warrior. He was, however, a very healthy child, and he liked nothing more than being outdoors amongst nature. When Billy was at school, despite his size, he wasn't bullied, but a number of his classmates were. Billy was not a warrior. He could not stand up to the bullies. All he could do was befriend those people who had been bullied to let them know that they were not alone in this world. But when Billy got home in the evening, he would weep for the beatings handed out by those bullies. Billy took solace in the woodlands behind his house. And in those woodlands he learnt the song of the trees and the folklore of the land. And he met his god and his goddess and he learned their stories. And they were never to leave him, and he would tell those stories whenever and wherever he could. But when Billy was a teenager, a local developer moved into the woods with the idea of building a factory in a main road. A protest was organised, but Billy was not a warrior. He couldn't join in on the protest line. And he wept as the first of the old trees was felled, and he wept again as the protesters were beaten by the security guards. Billy was not a fighter, but he was a writer. And Billy wrote to everybody and anybody he could about the plight of that ancient woodlands. And finally he found a law that was still in place that meant that the woodlands could not be developed. And through his tenacity, that law got put before the developers and the local council, and the building work had to stop. Billy had saved the woodlands. He thanked his gods and his goddess, and he continued to tell their stories whenever and wherever he could. When Billy was 21, his government declared war on a far-off land who had declared sovereignty on an equally far-off island. Billy was not a warrior. He was not going to go to some pointless war, but his brother, his older brother, felt differently. And Billy wept as his older brother sailed off to that pointless war. And sure enough, within a few weeks' time, Billy got the telegram that said his brother had been killed in action. The government said Billy's brother gave his life for his country and was a hero. But Billy hated that lie. Nobody gives their life for their country. Billy's brother's life was taken by his government. And Billy wept for the brother he would never see again. And he wept for all the mothers who would never see their sons again. Billy decided he would have to do something about this. So he became a local councillor at first, which he was very good at, and he helped a lot of people. And at large he became elected as a local MP. And again, he was very, very good. He helped a lot of people. He was a good apple in a bad barrel, if you liked. But one day, a bomb went off in the city centre, killing 12 people. Billy wept for the senseless loss of lives of those 12 people. But his government wanted revenge. They wanted to send planes to bomb the far-off land that may have harboured the terrorists. Billy voted against it, of course, but his colleagues said, "Billy, you're a coward. You are not a warrior." And so the planes took off anyway. And they dropped their bombs, and women and children were killed in that bombing. And Billy wept for the lives lost in that bombing. Billy could no longer support this government and be an MP. So a government would do such a thing, he had to do something else. But he never lost faith with his god and his goddess, and he still told their stories whenever and wherever he could. Billy became a counsellor, an advocate, if you like, helping people get what was rightfully theirs. And at large he trained, became a lawyer, a very, very good lawyer. And he helped a lot of people against the faceless corporations and the councils. He helped people's lives become better by getting what was rightfully theirs. He was a very, very successful lawyer, helping ordinary people. But of course there were cases that Billy could not win. And every time Billy lost a case, he would weep. He would weep for the lives that he could not improve. But, Billy never lost faith with his gods and his goddesses. And he still told their stories to anybody that would listen whenever and wherever he could. By and large, as happens to us all, Billy reached a ripe old age and his life began to ebb away. And so it came to be he was lying on a hospice bed, surrounded by his friends and his family, with moments to live. And in that moment, Billy had a vision. He was not lying on the bed anymore. He was lying on a beach, looking out to a misty sea. And out of that mist came an old-style sailing ship with oars. And the ship landed, and 12 robed figures climbed down and gently carried Billy onto the deck of the ship. And then they turned the ship around, and 12 oars padded in unison, pushing the ship towards the mist, until an unfelt wind filled the sail, and the ship surged into the mist. When the ship came out of the mist, Billy realised he was standing at the prow of the ship. And furthermore, he was not his older, infirm self. He was his younger, fitter self. And then he saw where the ship was heading, an island, and on the island's shore there was a host of warriors from all ages of man. There were Celts and Vikings and Saxons. There were medieval knights and Crimean knights. There were knights from the Napoleonic Wars, the First, the Second World War, from Afghanistan, from Iraq, and all conflicts in between. Billy didn't understand. He wasn't a warrior. When Billy got to the shore, the line of warriors parted and made an avenue, and at the end of that avenue Billy saw his gods and his goddess. He walked up to his goddess and bowed his head and said, "My lady, I don't understand. I am not a warrior." His goddess stepped forward and she smiled and she said, "Billy, you are a warrior. You have fought mightily with the pen and the word, as mightily as these good fellows have with their axe and sword and rifles. And furthermore, Billy, you have kept our name alive in your world. You have told our stories constantly and kept us young in your world. And now, Billy, we would do the same for you. We would repay you. This is now your body, and this is now your home, Billy." Well, back on the hospice bed, Billy's life slipped away from this world, and his friends and his family around the bed all wept for his passing. And back on the island, Billy wept also. But only this time, finally, his tears were tears of joy. So that was Not a Warrior, a short story. I do hope you enjoyed it. Drop me a line or beneath the long man's feet, let me know what you thought. Facebook or YouTube, always good to hear from you. But my friends, until we meet again, I now bid you all, as always, hail and farewell.